Hello everyone, we're back from vacation. We're ready to jump right in and get back to doing our real estate morning show. We've got 4 topics today. We're talking about interest rates, multiple offer legislation being changed, home buyer tips, and something else that you're talking about. I forget what it is.
Cannabis.
Cannabis! Oh, my memory, I forgot about that one. I don't know how. Anyways, let's jump right in. All right, so I'm going to get us started today. The news of the day is the interest rate hike that we were predicting would happen, did happen. Our interest rate now is 1.75%. This is another quarter of a point higher than what it was. That's kind of been the pace at which they've been increasing the rates. Yeah. The big news here is that the bank has now said that they're pretty confident in doing this again. Yeah. Prior to yesterday, we had known that they were probably going to do 3 more next year. And likely end up around that 2.5% mark. But now they're saying that 2.5% is at the low end of where they really want to see the rates for the economy. They're anticipating anywhere between 2.5 and 3.5% is where we should be. So what do you think?
You know, I think that it's exactly what we were expecting. Not surprised by it. I wouldn't be surprised to see another rate before the end of this year, a hike. I think their plan is very clear. They're being pretty transparent about it. And you know, it had to happen. We couldn't stay at those crazy low rates for long, and you know, I think that it was inevitable to get here.
I think with now the NATO agreement, the NAFTA agreement being sorted out, they feel more comfortable with that. I think they're still saying that they're going to be mindful of household debt. Yes. But they did see a little bit of a reduction in that, so they're feeling a little bit more confident. But I think household debt is going to be one of the factors that they monitor going forward, and they'll keep that in check. And I do believe that they're using wording now saying that they're not necessarily going to stick to that quarter of a point increase when they do it. They're just going to gauge it by what's going on. Okay. I had read a good quote earlier. I'll throw that up on the screen just so you guys can see it. But I think we're going to see more rate hikes. And I was talking with a friend the other day at breakfast, and we've had this conversation before. Do we think we're going to see an increase in sales now, maybe in the month of October, November, because people want to get in while they still have that rate hold? What do you think?
I think that we're going to have a balanced split. I don't think we're going to see a huge push where all of a sudden sales are going to go through the roof. Yeah. I think we're going to have the people who are going to have to buy because they can't face another increase without losing a little bit of room in regard to what they can spend. Yep. So I think those people are going to be in a position now where they have that window with their current rate locked in that they're going to have to buy within, or else it might impact what they can buy. And then I think we're going to have the people who are going to just sit on the fence and wait a little longer and kind of just let this all play out. Yeah. And potentially do something in the spring, but potentially not, right?
Or just stay in their homes longer, like you were mentioning before. I think that's easily a possibility. Yeah. And so I went back just to look at the numbers real quick. Because we've known about this for a while. We've said that it's probably going to happen in October. It was no secret to anybody. And we saw that when we looked at our September sales numbers, they were lower than what we had anticipated. They were actually lower than August sales numbers. Yeah, which was unexpected. Which never happens just in general. September, that fall push always is more than what the summer month is. And we didn't see any increase with people saying, okay, well, it's going to happen in October, I'll get out there. No. We didn't see that. So we'll have to wait and see what October does. But
potentially, maybe it's one of those things where, you know, a lot of people wait till it actually happens before they believe it. Yeah. And then they decide to do something instead of being a little bit more proactive. So I think we will see probably sales go up a little bit. Yeah. I would expect in October and potentially through November, but I don't think we're going to see anything exponential.
And again, they would have to be considerably higher than October last year for me to say that it was because of the interest rate. Because October was slow last year and we're not there yet. So
yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Anywho, my next news article of the day is that OREA has given 37 recommendations to the provincial government for changes to our Real Estate Business and Broker Act. It's a piece of legislation that governs us. And the main recommendation on there that I want to talk about was that in regards to multiple offers, they want to open it up and make it more transparent. Currently, you don't know what the contents of any other offer that you're competing against. You don't know price, you don't know closing date, any of that stuff. They want to make that transparent where everybody sees what all the prices are, what all the closing dates are, and what do you think?
Loaded question. Yeah. I like it. Yeah. I do. I like it. I think that having had the experience of being out there with buyers and going through that offer process and being in first place or second place, and then someone comes out of nowhere and drops an extra 50,000 or in some cases 100,000 out of the blue, and you don't know, you've no idea how to even manage the situation other than your best guess, right? I hated that. I hated that for the buyers. I didn't enjoy it as an agent. So for me, I love this. My biggest concern with it is what sort of parameters are going to be put on it, because if every agent is allowed to do it their own way and everyone does it a little bit differently, or there's partial disclosure or not full disclosure or anything like that, it's going to get so convoluted. It's going to be way more frustrating, and you're not going to have any structure to an offer negotiation, which is going to just make it way more messy and harder for the buyers, I think, and more confusing. So I hope if they do this, that they do it the right way. Yeah,
and it sounds like they're not necessarily, the language that they're using so far, I don't like. They're talking about it being a choice where both parties or all parties would have to opt in to make this the way that they do it. Otherwise, it would stick with the old system. And I think that that choice is actually a bad thing in this situation, because then there's no even playing field for everybody. You go to this house, it's all open and you see, and then this house, it's not. I think it needs to be one way or the other. And at the moment, they're talking about just giving the people the choice to opt in, where all parties would have to agree. And they haven't said obviously definitively if it means like what happens if two parties opt in but one doesn't. What does that look like? So
I can't have to say I don't like that. No. That makes me very concerned.
But overall,
the entire process.
I think we can say the transparency probably will be a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's necessary
because we talked about one offer overbidding the other one by 50,000. That inflates our market, and we got to a situation where we were before. So I think overall that change will be a good thing. What we'd like to hear from agents and how most people tend to resist change a little bit. I want to hear from both sides. Are you for this or against this?
Yeah, and same with sellers, right? Because as a seller, if you sold during that multiple time, you might have gotten a great price for your home because of the closed transaction process, right? And so this would change that, because people aren't going to be blindly guessing and throwing an extra 20 or 30 or 50 on the table. They're going to know how much they need to go. Right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, that could impact that as well. But overall, I'm a fan as long as it's done the right way.
Perfect. So, I mean, those are the two that I want to talk about for today. Why don't you take it away?
All right. Well, my first topic today is tips for first-time home buyers.
All right.
So what we're starting to see out there, and we've been seeing it for a while, is that a lot of properties that are selling are the lower price point properties, those entry-level homes, right? So I just wanted to go through kind of some of the stuff that you should be aware of as a first-time buyer if you're getting ready to buy that you might not know about right now.
Right.
And so the first one is, it's a big one. I feel like most people do know about this, but get pre-approved. Okay, so what we mean by that is go to a lender, meet with them, give them your financial information, give them your documents, have them put you into the system, and have an actual pre-approval for a mortgage so that you know what your budget actually is. And on top of that, work out your monthly numbers. Okay, so what we mean by that is know what it's going to cost you monthly for your mortgage, your property taxes, condo fees, anything like that. They're going to be included. And buy based on what is comfortable in that range, not what your total number is. Because a lot of the time we get approved for 100% of what our debt ratio is, but that means we're eating mac and cheese for the next 2 years, right? So be careful with those numbers. But get that structured and set up before you go looking at properties. The second thing is going to be prioritizing your house hunt. Okay, so what we mean when we say prioritize is two things. First of all, if you want to actually buy a house and you're serious about it, you need to make time in your schedule to go out and view the properties and to be willing and ready to put an offer in if necessary when you find that right property.
100%.
And so I know a lot of the time we struggle with this sometimes where people want to do it, but they're kind of lackadaisical, and then they start missing houses and they get frustrated. The reality is the good properties don't stay on the market long. Even in this kind of a market, they're not just sitting, right? So prioritize your time to put that effort in and get the house that you really want. And then the other thing we mean by that is sit down with your partner, if there is a partner, if not with yourself, and make a list of everything that's important to you about your property that you want to buy. What is priority to you? Is it parking? Is it proximity to transit, location, neighborhood, where your family, any of that sort of stuff, and make a list of your top things that are super important to you. Because at the end of the day, as a buyer, especially a first-time buyer, you will have to compromise on some things. Absolutely. So figure out what your non-negotiables are and make sure that your agent is fully aware of what those items are and that you're doing a full consultation with them again in regards to
your agent should also be able to help you with this, because there's sometimes there's things that you don't know are important to you yet because you haven't thought of them, you haven't gone through this before.
Yeah.
So talking with your agent and we have our buyer wish lists and stuff like that to go through.
And our consultation.
Yeah, exactly. Where we know what is important. And again, there's a lot of items on that list that might have no relevance to you, but for that one person, it might be the perfect one. You're like, oh, I didn't even think about how important that was going to be to me. But
or
really the dialogue with your agent is going to be what's most important.
Yeah, and sometimes you get caught up in the buying process, you get frustrated, and you just say, you know what, this will do. And as agents, that's not what we want the end result to be. So when we know in advance, we can kind of say, hey, I get that you like it, but you told me you needed parking and there's no parking. So is that an issue, right? Like, help us let you stay on the right track. The third one is get clear on your neighborhood and the requirements you need close by to you. There's a lot of great neighborhoods in the GTA and in the city itself. And you might think that you really like a pocket and then move into it and it turns out you don't like it. So go spend some time in the neighborhoods you're considering. Get used to them. Check out the local parks. Make sure that you know how the transit system works, that sort of stuff, so that when you do buy, you're going to actually like where you're living. Because that is something that we've seen happen in the past as well. And the fourth thing is get clear on the offer process and on the buying process. Sit down with your agent and have them walk you through step by step from the day that you're going to start looking to the day you get the key. What will that look like? Any agent should be going through that process with you and making sure that you're aware in advance of what to expect so that you're not stressed and that it is an easier and smoother transition.
I always feel better when I know what the path is. Like if every step that something comes up, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was next. I feel in a place. So it's just so much nicer when they're giving you the roadmap to.
Yeah, and there's nothing worse than waiting to kind of for someone to tell you what to do now. Yeah. At least if you can be proactive, you can be organized and get everything lined up and make sure that you're asking about additional costs. Okay, so CMHC mortgage, is that applicable to you? What do moving costs look like? Do you have land transfer tax? What are your closing costs? Is there commission? So that you can budget appropriately and be prepared so you don't all of a sudden have this extra $5,000 or $10,000 that you need to come up with. Okay. So I think if you can follow those few things, those little tips, and get really clear on the entire process with your agent before you start looking, it's just going to be a lot more fun and it's just going to go a lot more smoothly. So, anything to add to that?
No, I think that was a great overview.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. And my last topic is cannabis.
All right.
Now that it's legal. So apparently while we were away,
the world
all hell
changed.
broke loose. So they did legalize obviously on the 17th. And we just want to talk quickly. This is a big topic. I just want to run through some of the main things that as homeowners, as potential buyers, that you need to be thinking about.
And as agents, actually.
And as agents as well, that we need to know and that we need to be thinking about as this new change comes into place. The first thing, the biggest thing that's going on right now, and I'm not really talking about smoking, I'm talking more about the growing side of things. So we can now legally grow up to 4 plants in a house, right? The issue with that and the biggest impact it's going to have is with lenders and insurance. But lenders are a big one because appraisals are going to become a bigger element here. Banks are going to be looking for signs of growth within the house. They're going to be looking for mold, excess humidity, manipulated electrical work, anything that they think can show that somebody grew marijuana or cannabis in a home, and that could actually stop you from getting the lending. So because it becomes a bigger factor, it becomes a bigger risk factor for the banks, they don't really want to play with that too much. So what we're hearing right now is that is going to become harsher and homes are going to be scrutinized more. If you are planning to grow, I would recommend do it outside. If you do have to do it inside, just make sure that you're fully aware that it could have a big impact on the resale of your property and on the fact that, buyers might not be able to get lending, traditional lending, if they want to buy your home. So big element there. The other thing is insurance. Insurance is a big concern now, especially if you're growing indoors because of the lights. So you need these new lights that are like 500 to 1,000 watt, I think it was, which is pretty extensive.
I killed a cactus, I'm pretty sure, when we first moved in here, and I don't know how that happened, so I have no idea.
Yeah, it's something like that. But
maybe that should be the overarching story. If you're just terrible at growing plants, don't start here.
This is not the place to start. But what the insurance companies are saying is that there's major concerns in regard to fire hazards now. And this being obviously aluminum wiring is pretty prevalent. And there's big concerns over that being overpowered and then fires breaking out in homes. Also, people changing the circuits or adding breakers and things like that, and not doing things to
Anything
code.
Not being done to code or
To
professionally.
code, exactly.
Right?
And if you're a landlord and a tenant does this, well, your fire insurance is impacted by that. So you got to make sure that you know what's going on in your home, especially as a landlord, and you got to have open dialogue with your tenants about it if it is something that's going to be a concern or that's something that they're going to decide to do. Other than that, I would say for the agents out there in regard to this, they've updated clauses in web forms. You know, there's updated clauses for a standard landlord lease to add to a Schedule A there, as well as the regular lease. And then for buyers and for sellers, there are clauses now. So make sure that you guys are using those
just stay on
additional
top of
clauses.
it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm sure you're getting trained, but make sure to have them in there to protect your clients and yourself.
Yep.
And for buyers and sellers out there, make sure your agent's putting those clauses in and ask them, is this the new clause that keeps us covered if you're not sure? I think those are the major elements right now.
Yeah, that sums it up. There was a survey or something that you mentioned before.
Yeah, there was a survey that they did. It came out October 16th, and they surveyed, I don't know how many Canadians it was, but basically...
Probably only 1,000.
Yeah. Basically, 57% of the people surveyed all agreed that growing marijuana or cannabis in your home will mean, they think that should mean that your home has less value.
Yeah.
So it still is a stigma, and it's still going to have a negative impact on your resale. So be conscious of that. And the other thing is that 42% also think that living within a close proximity to a dispensary will actually impact your home value negatively. Yeah, so
I can see that.
Very interesting stats. Just be aware of that. Buyers who are shopping, more than half of them, if you grew weed in your house, they're probably not going to buy your house. Yeah. So that's a huge...
Oh, they'll buy it at a discount.
Yeah, or they'll buy it at a discount. That's a huge number. So, that's it for me today on cannabis or anything like that. So, any thoughts on all that or anything you want to add?
No, I think it was a great first show back. It was nice to, get the cobwebs out and get in front of the camera.
All right. Well, as always, thanks for joining us. We're going to be coming to you guys every Tuesday and Thursday morning. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to make sure that you're not missing our episodes. We don't have any links this week, so there's nothing to click on down below. So thanks so much for joining us, and we hope you have a great day.